Hello, it's Cub113, and today you'll notice we're in Wooden, where I have Illinois, and that's because I'm going to go over this tool I created, which basically gives you an extremely accurate picture of the big board and can help you kind of manipulate player ratings to try to get that beautiful trade-off between developing your players but still trying to get them to stick around for 4 seasons. So first up, this is clearly just for D1, right? Unless you're dealing with early entries in D2, which doesn't seem very likely. This is really only for high D1, and specifically teams with who might have a lot of early entries, which is probably the most difficult part of building good teams consistently in D1, is trying to get your guys to stay, but still recruiting talented players. So, first up, I have recruited reasonably well with Illinois the last couple seasons, and yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players on the big board, so yeah, including 4 juniors, 2 sophomores, 1 senior, 3 freshmen. So, how does this tool work? First up, you paste big board into your tool, which is WIS BigBoardSim version 1.2. And basically how this works is the core of it is this regression formula, which is the chance for a player to declare. So for those of you who don't know, how the big board works is it starts with the top player, which is Walter Fink, and then it random number to see whether Fink will declare with some undisclosed probability we don't totally know as a community, right? And it decides on Fink. And let's say Fink leaves, right? And then it goes to Rodney Paul, and let's say Paul leaves. And it keeps doing that. And seniors are a 100% chance of declaring. It keeps doing that until 60 people leave. So let's say that Romeo Gonzalez, number 95 on the big board, he's on the fence junior, he leaves. He's the 60th person. None of these guys even make a decision. These guys all have a 100% chance to stay. They're safe. And basically what that means is if you take someone's chance to declare, and as you get lower and lower from 80 to 100, the ratio between their chance to declare if they make a decision and their chance to leave early gets larger and larger as basically their chance to make a decision at all declines. You're going to see guys around 80th on the big board pretty much have a 100% chance to make a decision, right? So many people would have to stay for so many people would have to leave for the 80th person on the big board to be safe. But a lot of times we'll get down near 100. Last year I had a guy 97th on the big board with a 3% chance of leaving because it was such a senior and junior heavy big board. And basically what this tool does is it is a Monte Carlo simulation, which is basically it goes through and simulates one run, and then it does that 10,000 times, and you can take probabilities based upon it. So it's kind of a trial and error simulation, because the combinatorics of probability just to determine whether someone leaves is far too complex for us to imagine. So instead, we just kind of get a really good estimate by running 10,000 samples, which you can do pretty easily with how you set this up, by the way, is go to spreadsheet settings, calculation, and iterative calculation on. And I'm going to start it running. Basically, how you use this thing after you paste it in, you've got to keep this box labeled yes, and change it to no. Reset no, and it will start simming, and we'll try to get 10,000 simulations. So first, I want to talk about this chance to declare column, because the hardest part for me creating this was trying to figure out the chance that a player declares given they make a decision, right? That's what I mean, the differences between the chance they are drafted and the chance they declare. The chance they declare is if they make a decision. What's the chance they choose to leave? So, our buddy Benis has been tracking a ridiculous amount of EE data he gave me, so thank you so much, Benis, for that. You see, we've got 2,772 data points. So basically, I exported this into R, and I made logistic regressions and altered them a little bit so they make sense based on what we know. So here are the 3 curves I came up with. Purple is, I'm extremely color deficient, by the way, so this is a struggle. Purple is juniors, so this is the chance a junior leaves. The x-axis is their position on the big board. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Green is a chance a sophomore leaves, and blue is the chance a freshman leaves. We didn't have great data for freshmen. The highest on the big board freshman that left was around 37. So we need a little more data on the freshmen to be confident, but right now, basically, the regression says you're 100% safe if your guy is 48 or above, but you don't really know. But it actually goes up pretty rapidly. And you can see once you get up around 20, your guy has a 1/3 chance in leaving. So other than that, the major takeaways from here are uh, based on these formulas, there don't really appear to be artificial cutoffs between like a likely going 27 and an on the fence 28, for instance, for juniors. In fact, sophomores that were in the first 10 slots, 28 to 38 of likely staying actually left 41% of the time, which is probably an aberration, and you'd expect that to get down closer to 1/3 or 3 and 10 based on kind of what we know. And I'm going to keep updating these formulas as I get more data, but there's certainly not artificial cutoffs between 27 and 28. So, last thing I'd say is sophomores, if your guy's at 40, he has a 26% chance to leave. If your guy's at 20, he has a 59% chance to leave, pretty much twice as high, more than twice as high. You can easily drop a guy from 20 to 40 within one season for a sophomore. Like, if you have a sophomore at 20, you need to be dropping that guy. It's pretty ridiculous if you don't. Yeah, here are the curves. If you want the equations, they're pretty complex, and I can show you them. So hit me up. Hopefully our sheet's done simming. All right, we have 10,000 simulations. So let's see what the big board says and how I'd use this. So Illinois, remember. All right, first up I've got Jesse Hale. Note his chance to declare is 87%, and running the Monte Carlo simulations we got 86.8%, right? If the Monte Carlo simulations ran perfectly, this should say 87.2%, but with kind of how Monte Carlo works is you're not going to get a perfect number. You're going to get something that's around 1% off, which I can take because I'm just trying to get good estimates. Same Adams, I have 85% chance. Then Harmon, note, is a sophomore at 22. He has a 54% chance of leaving. Let's say I get him down to a sophomore at 41. A mere 19 spots, his chance of leaving is cut in half. So I will be dumping Harmon down the big board this season because there's no reason not to. Next up is Almanzar. He's a senior, and he has obviously 100% chance of leaving. Then Heil is a sophomore at 16% chance. And you know what? Unfortunately, the same thing goes for Heil this year. I don't need to drop him because 16% chance can kind of take. And even if I were to have him not develop and drop 20 spots, I'd just get it down to 12%, which is pretty useless exercise. So what I'm going to do instead with Heil is, continue developing his ratings, and hopefully he'll go up a little, but I'm not trying to get him into this kind of 30 to 40 zone, which is where a sophomore's chance of leaving shoots up according to these models. So Heil, I'm actually going to be chilling on his development a little this year. But our most important observation here is kind of what this tells you about the bottom of the big board. So Halveston has a 34% chance of declaring, a 32% chance of leaving at 81. If you drop him down to 96, it suddenly is a 30% chance of declaring and a 12% chance of leaving. So if I can drop Halveston 15 spots, his chance of leaving is cut in a third. So, quickly, here's how you read the bottom of my sheet. So I have this guy, Mr. Off the Big Board, and what this box is the percent chance someone off the big board leads, which is 37% chance. So someone's going to get screwed this year, because this is a pretty young big board, a lot of juniors if you look at it, and a lot of freshmen too. This was an incredible freshman class. Average number of people off the big board is only 0.7. So that being said, I'm actually surprised it's that low. You'd expect if there's a 37% chance for one person to leave, it would be, at least one person to leave. I mean, you'd expect to get to one or two. So if I want to be totally safe on Halveston, I have to dump him a couple spots off the big board. But I'm pretty happy getting him around 94, 95, 96. All right, thank you.